so excited about it. This week is a special week for me. It's a special week for moms. If you are a mom, if you're not a mom, if you're human, you got a mama, even if you don't have a relationship with her, if it's an estranged relationship, if it's a distant relationship, if it's a pressured relationship, if it's a dysfunctional relationship, whatever it is, we are going to do the work this week so that as we go into Mother's Day, you can feel a little less pressure. You can feel a little less wounded is my goal. My goal is also for you to have a safe space to acknowledge your journey as a child, and having that mothering relationship as well. I think it's very important for us to, especially in the Black community, right? And for all my non-brown people, I appreciate y'all for showing up as well. This is for y'all too. But especially in the Black community, we have this really high pressure of ignoring and excusing the behavior of our mothers because that's your mama, right? I've heard quotation, that's your mama for the majority of my life, and it didn't serve me well. And my mama heard it for the majority of her life. And so she passed down what she knew and they passed down what they knew, but it didn't serve any of us. And so I came to interrupt the patterns. I came to be a part of the solution. And with that being said, it allows for us to move in a time and space of honoring how we feel and honoring what we've experienced. So before we get started, I need you to share this out with your friends and family that you want to go higher with. You can even share it with your mama if you want to. My mama's in the group. And so shout out to her for braving my work, because it could feel extremely uncomfortable for a mother to have to hear some of the wounds that she left on her child, especially when she didn't know any better, or, in my case, my mom was in addiction and we talk openly about it, but shout out to her for being willing to brave that experience. Shout out to all my folks in Life Mastery, right? Shout out to all my folks in Life Mastery who showed up, right? Y'all showed up. And Life Mastery is, a more intentional paid coaching program that I have 20 plus amazing clients who are journeying through, and we kicked off the mothering wound last night. And so they're getting a little bit more intense. This is an overview, but it's gonna make a difference for y'all too, but they're getting in it real good. And so this is gonna be, for a lot of you guys, this is gonna be a bit complex to hear. But for us, the first things first is that I want you to know that your pain, your experiences, even if it's not pain, even if it's just with an overbearing mother who has projected all of her fears onto you. Don't do this because that'll happen. Don't do that because this will happen. And parented you out of fear, thinking that it was love throughout your childhood. Or if it's, your mom who, had a jealousness for you, right? You got the attention of dad that she didn't get, right? Of her dad and of her lover, right? And so you got that attention. Or if your mom was suffering through substance abuse, alcohol, or drugs, and you were slighted in your childhood because of that, and or you suffer from abandonment, or you got an emotionally immature mother, or a emotionally unavailable mother, or a mother who made mistakes and won't have the conversation, won't own it, or a mother who hadn't told you who your father was, or a stepmother, right? And this is not just for your mother. I want y'all to hear this. This is for your mother, your grandmother. This is for aunties. This is for adoptive mothers. This is for any mothers, right? Mother figures who left wound intentionally or unintentionally. Because a lot of times we get caught up in the space of, oh, well, I know why my mama did what she did, so it's okay. It's not okay, right? And it doesn't mean that we're bashing mom, right? But we are healing. And in order for us to heal, step one is acknowledgement. So I want to see some gratitude before I get knee deep into this thing, because I want y'all to know that I've done a tremendous amount of work, me and my mother both, over the last decade, and especially over the last 5 years. We've done a tremendous amount of work. We've had a lot of trauma between us. If you've read my book, let me grab a copy of it. Hold on, guys. Hold your horses. If you've read my book, More Tequila, Please, then you already have some idea, right? If you grew up with me, then you know the story. But if you've read More Tequila, Please, then you've had some experience with my journey with me and my mom. And again, shout out to my mama, who is always so willing to do her work, right? Even when it's not easy. Even when it's like, man, this is not pretty. This is not comfortable. And so I want to know what your gratitude is. And then I want us to get started with it. All right. So I see you, Tracy Ann. I see you, Rena. Rena said, that's my mother, mouthful. Kim said, that's real good. Hey, Brandy Hunt, good morning. She said, this is very valuable. This is a very valuable discussion. Shout out to you for going to the deep places to help others heal. Absolutely. Hey, Ben, good morning. Good to see you. Courtney, I'm so glad you're here. Tracy Ann said, last night was amazing. Shout out to Tracy Ann, who is a part of Life Mastery. I see you, Keisha. Good morning. I see you, Tracy. Thank you for tagging folks. Make sure you share it. Kalisha, good morning. Keisha said, grateful for a mental health break today. Yes. Regina said, just signing in. You're right on time. We're just getting started. We're talking about the mothering wound. Hey, Wes, so good to see you, my love. Kalisha said, grateful for income. Courtney said, grateful for all mothers all over the world. Yes, yes, yes. All right, y'all. So let's get into it. So growing up, me and my mom had a very contentious, dysfunctional relationship. And in part because her and her mother had a very contentious, dysfunctional relationship. And so it calls for a lot of heartbreak and a lot of wounds that were super deep that her and I are still working through to this very day. And so to set the tone, my mom gave birth to me when she was 15 years old. She had only been 15 for 2 weeks. And I was her second child. And so that for her in itself, you can imagine what she was going through. There's a lot of grown women who couldn't have had a baby back to back and then still have to survive and be, a grown up who was in the mind of a child, right? My mom was robbed of her childhood through her own set of childhood traumas that in return caused her to self-doubt, to not have confidence in herself, and to connect with people who continued the cycle of abuse that she experienced in her childhood. And so by the time I was born, she had already suffered so much that she really didn't have any other capacity to give other than from a very hurt and very dysfunctional space. Now I'm going to pause here because I want y'all to understand something. In order for me to phrase my story from this space, I had to do the work. Because before I was able to validate my own pain, before I was able to say that what I went through wasn't okay, that just because it's my mother, she didn't have permission to mistreat me, to hurt me, to verbally abuse me, to physically abuse me, or my brother, whatever that looked like, just because she went through pain doesn't mean she had a right to project the pain. Before I could get to that place, I was very angry, frustrated, still externally successful, but was in this roller coaster relationship with my mother. And so what that looked like was we'd be having these really high highs where we'd be laughing, loving on each other, spending time, missing each other, vibing, connecting. And then all of a sudden, one of us would be triggered. Either she would be triggered for not being good enough, or I would be triggered for her abandonment. And then all of a sudden we would be back at square one, hating each other, talking crazy, disrespecting each other. And this was a roller coaster ride that we were on up until about 2 years ago. And so you guys who have been seeing me do this work for about 5 years have heard me openly talk about me and my mother's journey. But now I want to pull the curtain all the way back as we approach Mother's Day so that we all can show up in this space of healing. Now, I need everybody to understand something. For what I share, this may not be your story. You may just have a mom who was overbearing, who was judgmental, who criticized you all the time, and that's your wound. Do not compare your journey to mine or anybody else's who shared today or who shared throughout this week, because we're going to be journeying through this for the rest of the week, because I want to set the tone for you. I want you to be able to move differently. I want you to also know the impact of the mothering wound. When you have a wound from your mother, right? And we're going to talk about fathers next month, because that's a whole nother situation, right? When you have a mothering wound, when you become a mom, you can't help but pass that pain on to your children. Either you will pass it on directly by being a replica of who your mother was and or worse, or either you will overcompensate and do your kids a disservice by giving them way more than what you should. Therefore, they don't get to earn, or they don't get to see, or they don't get to grow as safe and as big and as amazingly as they want to. But that's only when you don't do the work. You either go from one extreme to the next. I want everybody to type in the comments, Coach P, I got it, if that makes sense to you, because I want to make sure you guys are following along. I'm going to be unfolding a lot, and so I want to make sure you get it. So number one, don't compare your journey to mine or to any others that you hear in this journey. Number two, as we go through this process, understand that your wound will look different. And so in not comparing, here's the safe space. My goal is for you to have a safe space where you can honor that this was my experience. Maybe your mom showed up in a space where she showed favoritism to all the boys and then treated the girls like they really wasn't much. Maybe your mom had a jealousness toward you and your father's relationship. Maybe your mom treated you like a baby doll. Maybe she treated you like a trophy. Maybe she daunted on you all the time and expected for you to be perfect. And then when you made a mistake, it was all hell broke loose, right? Or that she found disappointment in everything that you did that was opposite of something that she told you not to do, right? Or that she criticized, whatever that is, right? I want you to be able to find yourself, right? And allow your own wound to be evident, because again, this is the safe space where you get to show up in honoring your pain as a child. Throughout my childhood, through all of the tumultuous stuff that me and my mom went through, from physical, emotional, verbal abuse, the whole shebang, no one ever validated my pain, the experience of my pain. I want to make sure that y'all can still see me because, okay, here we go. All right. No one ever validated the experience of my pain. And so because I never got that pain validated, I went around trying to convince myself that I wasn't crazy. And I went around a lot of times not believing my own pain in other instances because it was never validated in my childhood. Also, and I was speaking about the impact of the mothering wound, you'll find yourself attracting your mother in your friendships and even in your love relationships, no matter if you're attracted to men or to women. You'll find yourself attracting the essence of that relationship or the characteristics of your mother. So for instance, I was attracting men who were emotionally unavailable or emotionally immature. That is a characteristic of the relationship that I had with my mother. During that time, she was emotionally immature and most times emotionally unavailable, right? You'll also find it in friendships. Your mothering wound will impact the type of women or men that you attract or how you be in relationship. It will determine if you're needy or if you're clingy or if you're consistently trying to prove to your friends that you're a good friend, or if you're consistently trying to prove to your boss that you're a good worker. See, look at me, looking for the attention and the external validation. Does that make sense to everybody? Say, Coach P, I'm on, or Coach P, I get it, right? I see you guys. I see Keisha. I see Tracy. I see Rena. I see Kenita. Kenita. I hope I said that right, Kenita. Regina, thank you so much. And so it gives you an opportunity to really like reflect and take full inventory. This is not about like being pissed off at mama and being like, mama, you screwed me up, right? But no, this is about you being willing to own your shit and take full responsibility for your growth moving forward. There's a couple of books that I like to reference, and y'all are going to hear me talk about these books throughout this week. And so just for reference, here's one of them that I like to talk about. It's called Toxic Parents: Overcoming Their Hurtful Legacy and Reclaiming Your Life. This book is by Susan Forward. It's available on Amazon. It's a really good book, a really good read. So go ahead and somebody type this in the chat for me, Toxic Parents by Susan Forward. And it's a really good reference. This was one of the books that I grabbed about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Hey, Tina, good to see you. If you guys haven't already, click the link so that you can give permission to StreamYard for me to see your comments directly from this interface. Make sure that you do. So Toxic Parents was one of the first books that freed me, that allowed me to know that I wasn't crazy. I came from a family of generations of women who excuse the negative, low vibrating, poor behavior of mothers. That just because your mama cussed you out don't mean that you get to be angry, disrespectful, or mad. That just because your mama abandoned you don't mean you get to be mad or have an attitude when you finally do see her. That just because your mama physically abused you, just because your mama blah, 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 does not mean that you get to react like a human would, like a child would. You don't get to be angry at your mom. You don't get to judge your mama. That's still your mama. And I heard that so much that it caused me to believe that my pain wasn't legit, because that's still your mama. And so in relationships, how it impacted me, because I'm going to keep tying the dots so that you can connect your own dots. In relationships, it caused me to hang on to people and that whack ass behavior way longer than I should have, because those boundaries weren't set in my mothering relationship. Now, again, guys, this is not just about bashing mom. We're going to talk about fathers next month, but this is Mother's Day. And that mothering wound is the first one because that is where you were incubated in her body. So whatever experiences that she was dealing with, whatever she was feeling about herself, whatever her fears were, her insecurities, that too was a part of your experience before you even got here on earth. I want y'all to hear that. And so a lot of what you're dealing with, a lot of the emotional struggle that you have came from her incubation, where she didn't even know. She had no idea, right? And when you were born, and what I do believe for my mother and for everybody else, even for me as a mother, we're always doing the best that we can, but our best doesn't mean that it's good enough or that it's okay. Even for me as a mom, that is a pill that I had to swallow, that just because I'm doing my best for today doesn't mean that it didn't leave a wound on Brittany. And so I'm going to dial back for a bit as I talk about my mothering relationship, meaning me and my mother. I'm also going to include my relationship with me and my daughter, because you guys are going to see how this all played out and how my healing made a difference, right? And again, I share this with you so that you can get your healing as well. So what this looks like is, when Brittany was born, I parented out of fear. I was one of those parents who I did not want to get it wrong like I felt like my mom had gotten it wrong. I had no healing done by the time Brittany was born. I just knew I wanted things to look and feel different. So I knew I wasn't going to get on drugs because my mama was on drugs, and I wasn't going to go that route. And I knew I didn't want to physically or mentally abuse her because I had already experienced that. But because I parented out of fear, those things, and I had not started any healing, those things were a part of Brittany's fabric anyway, except it was from an opposite perspective. So when it was time for her to learn her ABCs, I didn't know that she was struggling with how she saw letters and numbers. And so I went hard on her. Brittany, what are you thinking? This is supposed to be this way. When it was time to sing happy birthday to family members, if she didn't sing it perfectly, if she wasn't happy enough, I criticized her, or I fussed at her and made her feel like she was doing it wrong, because her being perfect validated my role as a better mom than the one that I had. I'm gonna pause right there for y'all. Do y'all hear that? Do you see that? Do you get it? Type in the comments, Coach P, I hear you. Right? And that was a tough thing for me to recognize, because then that meant that, oh shit, I too am creating wounds for Brittany. Now, although they look very different than the wounds that I experienced from my mother, a wound is a wound. And so fast forward, that was around between the ages of 3 and 5 for Brittany. Fast forward, she's now 16. She's reading a book. She's reading words that are unfamiliar. And so, these are big words. These are not like regular words. These are psychology words, because she's going through her own personal development journey at 16. Shout out to her. And so these words and the combinations of the words just are completely unfamiliar to anything that she's had to even read in school, right? And so as she's reading, she starts getting frustrated with herself. Frustration to tears. Why? Because she's replicating the voice that I implanted at 3 to 5 years old about, come on, Brittany, what are you thinking? Take your time. Would you say the word again? You got to notice all of that tone and that energy and that criticism is now the tape that plays at 16. So she's frustrated with it. So I'm like, hey, why are you upset? Well, because I should know this word, Mom. No, you shouldn't. You've never seen this word a day in your life. It's a brand new pronunciation. Then it hit me. She's hearing your voice from 3 to 5. So although over the last 5 years, I've become a much better parent than I've ever been, right? I'm still reparenting Brittany from the shit that I didn't know when she was 3 to 5. Thank God I'm able to do so, but I want y'all to see the connection. This is how, when you don't heal your mothering wound, especially before you give birth or before you partner with somebody, to my men, before you partner with somebody to have babies, before you raise someone else's kids, before you adopt children, this is how you project your wound onto them. Because shout out to all my folks in the comments who have adopted children, but you're still projecting your shit onto them because you haven't healed. And you probably don't even know it because the shit is so unconscious, right? It's so subconscious. And so for Brittany, it was unconscious, it was subconscious for me. I had no recognition that I was doing that to her. I thought I was being the perfect mom. And then today's time, that shit showed up because the voice that we hear about our self-esteem, about who we are, about who we can be, about how amazing we are comes from our parents. And so in real time, I had to pause her and say, hey, listen, the reason why you're so upset with yourself right now is not because you're doing a bad job. You're judging yourself because I judged and criticized you as a little bitty kid. Remember when you were trying to learn your ABCs and I was so hard on you? I was wrong. I was fucked up. I had no idea. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know what learning meant. So I was giving you what I had and it wasn't enough and it was wrong and I'm sorry. So as you're talking to yourself, I need you to help me undo the damage that I did, right? Help me undo that language. So be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. When you're learning new words, you have the right to learn them, not get them right as soon as you see them. And I know that that's your expectation because I said it for you and it's unrealistic. And she took a deep breath and she relaxed her shoulders. And she was like, okay, Mom, I get it. And that story, it just happened a few weeks ago, but it still brings me to tears because that is what we're constantly doing. We're constantly doing the work. Brittany and I, me and my mother, her and her mom, we're constantly doing the work, but the work first starts with you. And so this is how important the mothering wound is just for you. So putting yourself in a position, right, to validate your pain, because I had already validated my own pain with my mothering wound, I could now validate Brittany's. Take a deep breath, y'all. In the nose, out of the mouth. In the nose, out of the mouth. Right? Because I was able to validate my own mothering wound, I could now see how the damage that I had done had impacted Brittany. And so had I not done that work, had I not taken the time to heal those parts of me, and I'm still healing because it's a lifetime of some deep trauma. Some of it is not so deep, some of it is, right? And so as I take the time to heal that wound, it allows for me to be an even better parent to my daughter who's 16. I am consistently being a better parent to her. And here's the other thing that I shared with my life mastery group. I had to learn to not try to be a better parent in spite of my mother, because even that causes its own wound, like overcompensation, right? Like overjudgment, like parenting out of fear. When I was parenting out of fear, I was putting myself in a position to compare my parenting to my mother, which is completely out of pocket, right? Because in comparing it with her, I overcompensate or parent out of fear. And so once I learned that I'm not being a better parent in spite of my mother, I'm being a better parent because I'm being a better person, because I'm reparenting myself and I'm healing my own wounds. Through this journey, I know this is just the introduction, so y'all like, God damn, Coach B, this is real. It is. And through this journey, you're gonna also put yourself in a position to heal those wounds that plague you that you didn't even know you had. You're going to see your relationship shift. You're going to see your relationship with your mom shift, even if she's deceased. Shout out to all my folks whose mom has transitioned already. This too is for you. I know you're thinking, well, shoot, I don't really need to do this work because my mama dead. No. My mom's transitioned. I don't need to do this work. Oh yeah. You're still carrying that wound. The wound doesn't go away because the person changes, because the person transitions, because the person is no longer here. You still carry that wound. And so you're going to be able to do that work. So with that introduction, thank you to everybody who's invited all your family and friends. If you're just joining and you can't stay, make sure you catch this replay. For everybody else who's here, we're ready to move forward. So today's challenge, right? Today's lesson, this is your mothering wound session. So just for today, we're going to be acknowledging. Somebody type in the comments, I'm ready to acknowledge my mother wound. That's your first step, right? A desire to release the weight of this wound. We're not judging our mothers. We're not bashing our mothers. If you are a mother, you're not being bashed. This is an opportunity for you too to heal your wound, right? I'm a mother. And so as I heal my mothering wound, it helps me to become a better parent, but not until I validate my experiences for my own self was I able to give that to Brittany, because you cannot give what you don't have. So for all of my people who thought it was okay, all of my grandmas and my aunties and my godmothers and all of these other roles as stepmoms, for all of you guys who thought that it was okay for you to to heal your mothering, the mistakes that you make with your children through your grandchildren, I'm here to tell you that's not okay. You do not get to heal what you didn't give to your kids through your grandkids. That is cheating, and it is cheap, and it is unacceptable. right? Because you think that you can take the easy route out and circumvent, or maybe you don't know the way. So you're like, well, I don't really know what to do for that relationship. So let me go over here. That's cool, but it's temporary. You still have to heal it for yourself so that you can even hear the pain of your child differently, because maybe you don't even understand it. Maybe you're one of those parents who are like, but I gave my daughter everything. How could she be hurt? She's always complaining about how I didn't do, how I wasn't there, but I paid all the bills. She had all the flyers clothes. I paid all my son's bills. He had all the flyers clothes. I gave him everything that he could possibly want, but you were emotionally unavailable. You were physically there, but you weren't emotionally there. And no, you can't go back in time and make it better, right? But what you can do is heal yourself, because you obviously have wounds from your mothering. We're going to talk about dads next week. Shout out to everybody who's here who hadn't heard me say that yet. We're going to, not next week, next month. We're going to talk about dads next month. So shout out to everybody who hadn't heard me say that yet. This is the safe space for us to unpack the mothering wound. So if you are a mother, shout out to my mom who's watching, right? Who is also in the process of healing her own mothering wound so that she can have something different and better and higher serving to give to her two children. Shout out to all of you guys who are doing the work. I need to see you type it in the comments. I am ready to heal I'm ready to acknowledge my mothering wound, right? My mother wound. So let me see it. I see you, Lavetta. So good to see you. Thank you, Danita. I see you. I see you, Sheena. I see you, Brandy. I see you, Karen. I see you guys. Yes. Just type it in the comments. I am ready to acknowledge my mother wound, right? All right, so I'm going to share this with you as you acknowledge, and you're going to have homework today because I want to take y'all through this as a collective. Now, for my life mastery people, we're going through it every single day, right? We're doing the work every single day. So they're getting work on top of work on top of work, and shout out to them for being brave enough to do it. But I'm going to read something to you guys that changed the trajectory of my healing, right? It was the validation that I needed in order for me to heal. So this is from the book that I was talking about, Toxic Parents, and it's in the comments. It's by Susan Forward, right? If you are a part of this MASH collective, this community, if you're a member and you're on our email list, you're going to get this link to order it. It's on Amazon. You don't have to wait for that. But when you get the replay for over the weekend, the link will be in there to order it. And it just tell you where to go on Amazon, but you don't have to wait for that. You can go to Amazon right now. Somebody type it again in the comment for me. It is Toxic Parents, Overcoming Their Hurtful Legacy and Reclaiming Your Life by Susan L. Ford. Let me see what y'all are saying. So Jason, hey, good morning, Queen. Good afternoon. She said, my mother has been deceased for 34 years and I'm still healing. I'm further ready to address my mother wound. Let's go, guys. Let's go. So here's the page that really helped me to give myself permission to heal. And I'm gonna read it to you guys because I know it's not enough for us to hear sometimes somebody say you deserve to heal and you have permission to heal that wound. And this is not about you having a bad mother. This is not about you having a mom who abused you. Maybe that wasn't your experience, right? Maybe your mom was just withdrawn. Maybe she was still suffering through her own stuff. Maybe your mom suffered from mental illness, right? Maybe your mom had a mental illness or a physical handicap, and she could not be there for you as much as you would like her to. And it wasn't her intention, right? She didn't intentionally wound you, but nonetheless, you still carry that, man, I wish my mama could have been different. Man, I wish my mama, this is too for you. I want y'all to hear that. This is not about you being in a position of, being knocked down and dragged out. That doesn't have to be your story. So, a part of some of the rationalization, right? This is going to help you with acknowledgement. A part of the rationalization that they talk about in Toxic Parents is how we use good reason, good excuses for why we experience what we did at the hands of our parents. Now, this book covers both moms and dads, but I'm going to be coming from the perspective of moms for this month. And then next month, we're going to cover the perspective of dads. So it says, when we rationalize, we use good reasons to explain away what is painful and uncomfortable, right? And so here are some typical examples. My parent only screamed at me because my father only screamed at me because my mother nagged him. That is one of those rationalized good reasons that we use for why we experience the behaviors that we did. Mine was, well, my mama only abandoned me because she smoked crack, or because she was addicted to drugs, or because her mother wasn't there for her, so my mama couldn't be there for me. Those are rationalizations that we use before we sit in the pain of it and acknowledge what we've experienced. My mama couldn't be there for me because she was a teenage parent. She had both her kids in her early teens. albeit true. And yeah, it's the reason why it happened. But when we use those excuses or reasons as for why it was okay for us to be subjected to the behavior, we miss out on an opportunity to validate our own experiences. Another one is, my mother only drank because she was lonely. I should have stayed home more with her. Right? Bearing the responsibility of being emotionally responsible for our parents. The other one is my father or mother, and we're going to go with mother. My mother beat me, but she didn't mean to hurt me. She only meant to teach me a lesson. Right? My mom punished me because she was trying to teach me a lesson. Or I can't blame my mother for molesting me. My father wouldn't sleep with her, or my father wasn't available. And women need to be, acknowledged. Or if your mom put all of her burden about your dad onto you as a child, then you're probably saying, well, no, my mom did talk to me about my dad, but it was only because she didn't have any friends or because she didn't trust anybody. I was my mother's best friend as a child. Which could be an inappropriate and dysfunctional relationship, depending on how much of best friend your mom used in your relationship. And so Wes said, thanks for shedding light on rationalization. Absolutely. Because we rationalize in order to be okay with, in order to survive. Especially as kids, we show up in this space of trying to rationalize what we experienced because we want to be able to get past it. But then when you become adult and you get into a relationship with other adults, and you bring your little boy or your little girl, and they bring their little boy or their little girl, and now we're both two wounded kids with mothering wounds, parent wounds, fathering wounds. This month we're talking about mothering, trying to love each other. It's always a hit and miss. And so this month we're going to be talking about that. And so here's what you get to do, right? Just for today, I want you guys to join us back tomorrow. Now, tomorrow we're going to be back at our regular time, which is 8:45 a.m. And so if you're going to be missing it because you're only available during lunchtime, you're going to be able to watch it during lunch. So make sure that you participate in the comments, because I'm going to be in the chats responding. We're going to need support for this month. And so I want to make sure that you guys get that from me. And so those are some ways in which we rationalize our pain. The buck stops here. We're not rationalizing. Just for today, I want you to acknowledge, without explanation, without cause, without reason, that me being homeless at 17 was unacceptable, period, right? My mom verbally abusing me at 12, physically abusing me at 12 was unacceptable, period. Yes, I can go on and rationalize why it happened. Well, because she cussed at me and I cussed back at her, and you don't disrespect your mama. Because she was on drugs, knee deep in her addiction, and she didn't know what she was doing. Because blah, 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 blah. There will become a time, right? There will be a time where you will have time and space to add in the rest of the story. But if you grew up anything like me, where your reality was denied, it ain't that bad. That's your mama. Get over it. What are you thinking? You successful now. You don't still suffer through that, do you? Because that's been said to me, right? By family who love me. Yeah, but you successful. But look at how you raised Brittany. You better now. You better than that. You don't still suffer from that. That don't still bother you. Do it. That happened 30 years ago. That happened 50 years ago. That happened 40 years ago. That happened 10 years ago. That don't still bother you. Does it? Right? If you grew up hearing any of that, this day is important for you. This week is important for you. But this day, more importantly, is important for you because for once in your life, you're going to hear somebody else say it, that you have permission to be upset, sad, pissed off, depressed, not happy about it. We're not going to stay there, but you get a chance to acknowledge what you feel as a result of it. So there's a paragraph that freed me, that helped me get to the next level. And it says this, and it's talking about your healing in your mothering, in your parent, but in your mothering journey. But you do have a choice. You can begin the process of understanding that you were wrongly forced to grow up too soon, that you were robbed of your rightful childhood. You can work on accepting how much of your life's energy has gone down the drain of misplaced responsibility, Take this first step and you will find a new reserve of energy, right? That is suddenly available to you for the first time. Energy that you've exhausted on your topic of mothering much of your life, but which can finally be used to help you become more loving and responsible for the happiness and the delicious, these are my words, and the delicious experience of your life. Today is not about forgiveness. If you guys have heard me talk about the healing journey, one of the things I do is I say, put forgiveness on the back burner. You're not going to hell because of it. For all my religious people, I need you to put forgiveness on the back burner. I need you to put stuffing your feelings on the back burner, and I need you to prioritize your healing. The only way for you to forgive organically, naturally, and permanently is for you to do the work of healing first. You cannot forgive what you have not healed. So take forgiveness out of your eyesight for a second and focus in on your healing, your validation of your wound. So your homework is this, right? I see y'all in the comments. Ashley said, no rationalizing. Let's acknowledge. Absolutely. Jason A said, my little girl is alive and better. Let's get to it. I see you. Danita says you hitting things right on the head. Yes, that is what we're here for. That is a part of my journey. That's why I came to earth. That's what I'm here for. So we're going to deal with it, right? So we can heal it, so that we can move throughout our relationships with our partners, our life partners, our lovers, our children. So we can interrupt the patterns so we don't have to repeat them. No matter how old your child is, it is not too late. I don't care if you're 60 and your child is 20, 30, 40, it matters not. I don't care if you're 30 and your child is 16, it matters not. You have an opportunity to heal that wound, and you cannot forgive when you're not willing to heal. And so your homework is this. I need you to write a letter to your younger self, right? And so it could be your 5-year-old self. It could be your 10-year-old self. It could be your in the womb self. It could be your 8-month-old self, your 16-year-old self, 21, 25, whatever age felt the most pain as a result of you and your mother's relationship, right? Or felt the most not good enough, or felt the most criticized, or felt the most abandoned, or felt the most emotionally abused, or felt the most ignored. Whatever your story is, no comparing it to mine, because you're going to hear a lot about me and my mom's relationship this week, but no comparing your story to mine, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's about your wound, and your wound matters. And so you being able to interrupt the patterns is going to be a game changer for you in your life in every aspect. For my entrepreneurs, it's going to change the game. For my 9-to-5ers and my corporate folks, it's going to change the game. And so no matter how successful you've been, no matter how amazing your marriage is or your relationship with your children are, you deserve this. You deserve to once and for all acknowledge what you've experienced. And so with that being said, you're going to write a letter to your younger self. And it's just a letter of acknowledgement of the experiences. So I'll give you an example. For me, it would look like 12-year-old Precious. I'm just picking one of my ages that experienced the most trauma, right? So 12-year-old Precious, I see you. I hear you. I love you. I acknowledge what you experienced. When this happened, and be as detailed as your emotional self can allow, right? If you have a therapist, this will be a good time to set an appointment for a session. If you have a coach, this is a good time for you to partner with your coach. If you have a support circle, this is a good time to start leaning into them. And of course, you're going to be able to lean into the group, because I'm going to be posting things where I'm going to be interacting with you as well. Shout out to everybody who's in Life Mastery. And so with that being said, I want you to write a letter to your whatever your younger self is, your inner child, right? And just a letter of acknowledgement that I believe you. I believe that it was that bad. I believe that it hurt that bad. I believe that it made you feel left out. I believe that it made you feel unseen. I believe you that it made you feel unheard. I'm here for you. I see you. I hear you. But I want you to know first that I acknowledge what you experienced to begin with. And it's not okay. And we're going better from here. Right? Does everybody got it? So if you got your homework and you understand it, type in the comments, I'm ready for my homework. Type it in the comments. I need to see everybody do it before I end this thing, because I want to make sure that you got it. I love y'all so much. And here's what I want to share while you guys are typing that you got your homework assignment in the comments. I want you to know that as much work as I've done, doing this work with y'all and doing it with my Life Mastery folks, it's one of my greatest joys. This is what I came on earth to do. And being able to be a better mom to Brittany as a result of it every day, every year, every month is a pleasure for me. But this month, as we journey through this, and next month, as we go through the fathering wound, y'all, it overjoys me, because we're shifting the paradigm. For a lot of us, we are the first generation to do this work. So yeah, it's going to feel a little hard, a little sticky. You're going to cry. Get your tissue box ready. You're going to need to have a lot of water. Make sure you hydrate through this process. It's going to be important. Make sure you take time for rest. You're going to have to say no to some virtual experiences. You're going to have to say no to some phone calls and some text messages. You're going to have to tell people, hey, listen, this week I'm taking time for myself, so you probably won't hear from me as much, because you may feel your body, right? The body keeps score, so you're gonna feel more tired than usual. Prepare for that. Allow yourself this opportunity. I'm telling y'all, it's a game changer. And I too am gonna grow even more. Me and my mother's relationship is gonna grow even more as a result of it. You're gonna hear more about our journey throughout this week. But just for today, shout out to all y'all who got y'all homework. If you know somebody who can benefit from this work, this journey, make sure you add them to the MASH Collective. This is also the month where we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of this group, and this group and my practice, my coaching practice, Surrender, Work, Live, Coaching, and Accountability. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for this work. If you feel like that this work is too much for you, that you feel like, man, I'm not ready for this work, no shame. It's okay. This replay will be available. You can come back to it way after Mother's Day. You don't have to do this work now if you don't want to. This work is only for the people who are saying, you know what, Coach P, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. I feel emotionally equipped and I'm ready to move forward in it. This work is for you. I hope y'all have an amazing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Tuesday, and I'll be checking in the group. I'm going to make a post in the group that's going to help with your journey through the letter to your inner child. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning at 8:45. Have an amazing day, y'all. Peace.